Again, this is Joe Quintanilla from National Braille Press. Nicole Kosar, my colleague, is going to be running the meeting on Zoom, and she'll be calling on you based on the order that she emailed to you as to who's reading their poem or one of their favorite poems if it's not an original work. And I'll be handing it off to Kathy in a few seconds as well. I just want to remind you that this is Poetry Month, and thanks to Kathy Schneider's suggestions and support and encouragement, this is our third poetry circle, and we are excited to do this again. We've got a really great response. The theme Kathy will talk about, but we're really excited to be able to provide you resources in Braille on different places, websites, and other sites where you might be able to get access to more poetry, in addition to Amanda Gorman's latest poem. It's right off the press, and it will be in the mail to you tomorrow. So if the post office does their job, you should get it within a few days after tomorrow, and you can read Amanda Gorman's poem that I think debuted on New Year's Eve, and also the resources list that Kathy helped put together on all the different ways that you can access poetry, different resources, and also a special thanks to Kathy's generosity to making that and Amanda's poem put into Braille. So thank you, Kathy. I'm now going to ask our poetry enthusiast and leader in this effort, with her generosity and her desire to make sure that more blind people have poetry available to them, Kathy Schneider. Kathy, take it away.
Hey, isn't this wonderful? We have a poetry circle across the U.S., from the East Coast to the West Coast. I'm pretty sure there's people going to read from, maybe age 17 to 70 something, but maybe the age range is even wider. And we're all people that enjoy what poetry does. And boy, in these days, don't we need it, what poetry does. And picking the theme for this year, joy and wonder, start with a little prose quote from one of my favorite poets, Mary Oliver, and it's a little paragraph called, "Don't hesitate. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give in to it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We're not wise and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, that sometimes something happens better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb." So tonight we're going to have some big servings of joy and wonder. Nicole, would you call on our first reader?
All right, so I'll call on each reader and give you time to unmute yourself. I know that some people couldn't make it, so if I don't see you there, or if I miss your name, or if I don't see you there, we'll move on and come back if I see you pop up. If I miss your name, or if there's anybody else at the end who would like to read that hadn't originally signed up, we'll open up the floor for them as well. But first up is going to be Dan Simpson. Dan, are you here?
Yes, I am. Thank you. It's great to be here. And thank you, Kathy, for your big part in making this happen. It's great that you read that Mary Oliver quote, because I have a poem that's about that initial stage of love and the joy and wonder of it. It's called Chance Meeting, and I'm happy to say it's in my, there's somebody,
And I'm gonna go ahead and mute everybody. And once I do that, you can unmute yourself.
yeah. Okay. So I'm happy to say that this is going to be in my book, Inside the Invisible, that's just gotten accepted by 9 Mile Books and should be out in October. And the poem's called Chance Meeting. You are riding on a train, and since it is such a long trip and your book is boring, and since she seems to have nothing to do but glance out the window and once or twice at you, you cautiously tuck your shyness like a bookmark into the cheap paperback you bought in the station at the last minute. And you say something to her. It isn't much of a thing to say, something safe. And yet you feel as if you are saying something crucial and awkward, as you did when saying almost anything in 7th grade. You scratch your shoulder, which doesn't itch, and you say something like, boy, Ohio is really flat. Or, I don't know if I could live in this city. And then she says something back. It isn't much of anything either, but maybe because you spoke first or because she's just that way. She sounds a little more sure of herself. And perhaps because the train clatters along confidently, you tell each other where you live and what you do. And then you both say that you are hungry and wouldn't mind walking the 11 cars to the snack bar. You agree it would be good to stretch your legs. On the way, because the train is swaying, you link arms for support. When you squeeze past the conductor, rather than going single file, you turn toward each other so that you are fairly dancing, rocking between aisle seats as if they were couples too. And when you lose your balance and fall into a stranger's lap, she laughs at you with that knowing laughter married people have. And you laugh with her as though you haven't laughed since a year ago, November. By the time you return to your seats, you are talking about favorite movies. You are telling family stories, and soon you are using words like wish and imagine, and you imagine this could go on forever. Then the conductor is calling out her stop, but she hasn't heard him, and so must hurry now to pull her luggage from a rack and make her way. There is only time to shout your number once. She says she's got it. She'll remember it. You fiddle with your book. When you look up, everyone is watching you and smiling. A young boy several seats away turns on a boombox, and the car is filled with music.
Thank you, Dan.
That's delightful. What a wonderful start.
Thank you.
Next, we have Vicki Voight. I apologize if I butchered the last name.
That's okay. It's vote, just like voting. Thank you for having me. This is an exciting evening. I've been a poet for quite a while, and I also run at the Perkins Talking Book Library, the Poetry Corner, every third Friday at 3 p.m. So that's, if anybody wants to join us, although tomorrow is, even though it's the fourth Friday, we're meeting tomorrow because the third one was Passover and Good Friday. So back to poetry. Mine's untitled. Sing softly with autumn, beyond the broken black, touch that sacred night. Irresistible wish for beauty, what scent is dew? Hope for scattered petals, strange reflections become brilliant fantasies. Harmony and peace storm and bloom into legend. Remember, these thousands of shifting names can talk.
Space, audio now unmuted, Zoom meeting.
Okay, thank you, Vicki. That was wonderful.
you.
Wow. Wow.
Thank you.
I want to hear
Next.
that one again. This is going to be wonderful and hard because we have to just keep going on. Yeah. Thank
Next
you.
we have Abby Taylor.
Hi, everybody. I am, for those of you who don't know me, I am a poet, but this evening I'm going to cast aside my own vanity and read something by one of my favorite poets, Billy Collins. This is The Lanyard. The other day, I was ricocheting slowly off the blue walls of this room, moving as if underwater, from typewriter to piano, from bookshelf to an envelope lying on the floor, when I found myself in the L section of the dictionary, where my eyes fell upon the word lanyard. No cookie nibbled by a French novelist could send one into a past more suddenly, a past where I sat at a workbench at a camp by a deep Adirondack lake, learning how to braid long, thin plastic strips into a lanyard, a gift from my mother. I had never seen anyone use a lanyard or wear one, if that's what you did with them. But that did not keep me from crossing strand over strand again and again until I had made a boxy red and white lanyard for my mother. She gave me life and milk from her breasts, and I gave her a lanyard. She nursed me in many a sick room, lifted spoons of medicine to my lips, laid cool face cloths on my forehead, and then led me out into the airy light. I'm sorry, what? Am I muted?
No, go ahead.
No,
I think
you're
somebody
good.
else was muting
Oh,
themselves.
okay. All right. Let's see. Laid cool face cloths on my forehead, and then led me out into the airy light and taught me to walk and swim. And I, in turn, presented her with a lanyard. Here are thousands of meals, she said, and here is clothing and a good education. And here is your lanyard, I replied, which I made with a little help from a counselor. Here is a breathing body and a beating heart, strong legs, bones, and teeth, and 2 clear eyes to read the world, she whispered. And here, I said, is the lanyard I made at camp. And here, I wish to say to her now, is a smaller gift, not the worn truth that you can never repay your mother, but the rueful admission that when she took the 2-tone lanyard from my hand, I was as sure as a boy could be that this useless, worthless thing I wove out of boredom would be enough to make us even. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby.
I love that poem.
I do too. It's one of my favorites. Thank you.
It's wonderful. Okay, next we have Barbara Hamill.
My poem is called Come With Me, and I wrote this one. Come, my loves, come take my hand. We've lands of wonder to explore, cross purple tide and silver sand beyond imagination's door. Come to where the rainbow's made. Discover how each hue is played. We've lands of wonder to explore, great realms of possibility. So let's go find some distant shore in make-believe, you and me. Maybe we'll find azure trees or be kissed by a wild rose breeze. Cross purple tide and silver sand, you never know what wonder lies out in rainbow building land. We see results in the sky. God and science are both correct, but you and I can still erect beyond imagination's door, places no one's ever seen, fantastic dream worlds to explore. Maybe there the sun is green. Oh, what fun pretending can be, using your creativity. Come to where the rainbow's made. Invent your own fairy tale. Will it be built by theft or trade? Will you travel by hoof or sail? Who needs saving? Who's the hero? How did the hues get on the bow? Discover how each hue is played, or do they form by seeing sense? Need you dig them with a spade, or might one pen them in a fence? Come, my loves, while you'll still pretend, for way too soon childhood will end.
Thank you, Barbara.
Wow, don't you love the image of rainbow building land? Whoa. Phew.
Next up is Lisa Maria Martinez. LM, are you on? All right, we'll come back to her if she joins us later. Next is Elsie Mencia. After Elsie,
are you going to remind people *6? Some of us have short memories for such things.
yeah, absolutely. If you're on your phone, *6 to unmute your audio. Elsie or Lisa Maria, if you join us, we'll come right back. Next is Greg Boating. Okay, Fatima Soriano, are you on? Oh, I believe you're muted, Fatima.
Okay, thank you. So hello everyone. The poem I'm about to share is going to be quite different from the rest that we've heard in the sense that it is a crowdsourced poem. So NPR's Morning Edition asked its audience to send in their thoughts and musings and poems with regards to the pandemic that we are currently in. And so it's going to be quite different. I guess what this poem tackles is, the challenges, the hopes, the changes that the pandemic brought about. And so I guess it's all about finding, the wonder, the joy and the wonder in the midst of the sadness and the world. So I hope you like it. I wake with wonder. Every morning, I wake with wonder and dive into the day. I grasp for my phone like a lifeline, a buoy. I rise among the displaced dreams of yore, supplanted plans disrupted from the year, so distanced from all social life before. I set out on my way to make snacks for 3 kids because that's all I seem to do with them here all day. And it's hard work because it's hard work. This is artwork. I rise like the sap in the maple tree, knowing it's time to feed its budding branches, like seedlings struggling towards the light. even though I need a baptism of magic waters to cure all that aches. I don my gowns and masks and gloves, tend to the sick, the lost, the tired, the dead. I say a prayer, talk to God, think of things I love, birds and flowers and books, dandelions, earthworms, mosses, all those things I never thought to love or not enough. I rise, even when the news of the day makes me want to stay in bed, even when the outlook is bleak. I've not seen my 8th grader smile or smirk. My neighbor cut down the massive oak that shaded my yard. My wife died alone in a skilled nursing facility bed. Oh yes, I mourn those we have lost and the cost of human lives, but still I rise. Still I rise. Cry for those who have gone, who have marched on. Still fire eyes burn for justice denied, flamed hot for truth. We rise, even when our spirits feel deflated, because this too shall be past, because we are made of stardust. I am a new breath in an older body with a future to ponder. I no longer take hugs for granted. The music at church yesterday with full choir was glorious. I sing of loss and grief and hope, of joy and pain and memory, of yesterday and tomorrow. I became best friends with my computer and learned something spectacular. Disconnection has connected us more than ever. The Zoom leave button calls for me, so I am easing out of this rabbit hole. I will find my equilibrium and my verb, be who I am, lose 40 pounds and improve my mental health. Meet every patient as they are and care for them as best I can. Try to celebrate the fact of my existence. Birds tweeting, wind blowing, leaves rustling. I notice it all now. I like this new world. Even though I'm in my 90s, I have learned to love more. The old man across the hall who has trouble with his eyes, the touchy woman down the street. In this world of bad audio connections, I have learned to listen. After such stillness, nothing's the same. I rise on this new day out of bed like a miracle. I tie my own shoes. I linger with a full pot of berries, Irish tea, each slurp an act of contemplative prayer. I spent so many days watching my child grow. Morning dove pretends to be an owl. A cardinal rides a slip of a limb up and down. What was simple is made extravagant. So I lift my gaze forward slowly, to hike up, not give up, to sing out, not cry out, to like who I am, even when, especially when, I stand alone. Return to my books to find support, to make the coffee, to watch ducklings drop to water glory, following Mama Hen through fervent streams, to fill each day, not miss one, to see the world full on, to pace the house at midnight, watching the moon wax and wane, to live and love, to write, to work, to laugh, to share, to fight, to create a world of generosity, a world where we are inspired to help each other in every moment. So rise, my friends, rise up, all one heart, be the change. And when you wonder how you will likely spend your life with the time left to borrow, know that to fight is to be human, for times short or longer. For through the struggle, we may hope to become stronger. Thank you.
Wow. Maybe
was
next year we
amazing.
should
Thank you.
Maybe we should try a crowdsourced poem next year.
Yeah, that's awesome. That
Oh,
was
thanks
so
so
great
much.
to listen to. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, next up we have Tina Schlipp. After Tina is Gerald Stephenson. And after Gerald is Jamie Taylor. Jamie, are you on? Joy Stewart. Joy, are you on? Allison Pack Adair.
Nicole, this is Deborah Kendrick, and I just want to point out that sometimes people have difficulty unmuting themselves because they don't realize that there's a got it button that needs to be clicked on the computer. And if you are on the computer and you continue pressing tab in the meeting app, you'll find that got it button and you press enter on it. You can't unmute yourself until you've done that. And in the iPhone app, if you, I believe you open the more screen and swipe right until you hear got it and double tap it. So, thank you. I apologize for jumping in, but I'm
No,
very
absolutely. Very helpful, Deborah.
experienced.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, if anybody who I've called,
And Deborah Kendrick, author of many books on technology, would know those things. Thank you for sharing.
yes, she would. Yes. And I will come back and call the people that we've gone through just now at the end. All right, Annie Burris, are you on? And Kate Mobby. Alice Massa, are you on?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Hello, this is Alice.
Oh,
And happy National Poetry Month, everyone. Can you hear me, Kathy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Thank you, National Braille Press. And I learned at a meeting last night that now those techie people think if someone hits F6, that takes care of the got it button. But I'm just on a regular landline phone, so I'm just passing that along. The title of my poem this evening is At the Curb of Joy and Wonder by Alice Jane Marie Massa. I wrote this on March 21st of this year because on March 21st of 1990, I received my first guide dog. And the poem begins, oh, the joy and wonder of my first walk with my first guide dog. Oh, the thrill of that little golden magically or miraculously stopped at that first curb after I had only said those 4 magic words. Keller, find the curb. Dear Lord, she did. That leader dog took my breath away and simultaneously breathed into me new life, restorative life. At that first curb, at that first step into a sparkling new life, I smiled upward at a Michigan March sky. Let joyful tears flow from my eyes and gave thanks for leader dog Keller and for all who made this gift to me possible. I have held this harness of joy and wonder. I have held this gratitude for over 32 years. I have grown older. My 4-liter dogs grew older, but gratitude never grows old. Most gratefully, joy and wonder vivaciously greet me at the dawn of each new day. Because joy and wonder never, never grow old. The end. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice.
Whoa, that's amazing.
Thank you,
Has-
Kathy.
Has anybody who I've called previously logged on? I know we had someone who unmuted right before Alice.
It's Annie Burris. I unmuted right before she did.
Great, thank you. All right, Annie.
I was a little bit about myself. I am currently recovering from a liver transplant. I had it in 2019. I've always enjoyed poetry. As an 8th grader in high school, there was a contest that I entered titled What Makes Me Smile. And I guess it was the beginning of my joy and wonder, because what happened with this was negative. But now that I look back, it was just something to inspire, encourage, and motivate me to continue writing. And here's my poem. It's titled What Makes Me Smile. It says, when I was very little, I liked to run and play. Now that I'm older, I act a different way. I think with a different mind. I speak with a different voice. Now when I'm with my friends, I don't make so much noise. Now that I'm older, I not only think of things like monkey bars, merry-go-rounds, sliding boards, and swings. I think about the future and what the future holds. I think about teaching and many other goals. I think about my life and making it worthwhile. And when I think about these things, that's what makes me smile. And today I'm an author of a book titled, I Finally Got It Out of My Head, Expressions of the Heart. And that is one of the pieces in the book. And I use my pieces as a motivational speaker as well. And most of my pieces used to only be in my head. Now that I have them published, they're not just in my head, but they're all expressions of my heart. Thank you so much for allowing me to join you all.
Thanks, Annie. That was great.
Magnificent. 8th grade when she wrote that poem. Wow.
Wow. Right. Marilyn Smith, are you on?
Hello, this is Marilyn Smith, and I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. And I can stretch your age range a little bit, Kathy. I'm 82, so we go way on up there. This poem, like last year, I wrote it for tonight, and it just inspired me to do something fun, and that's really what it is. It's called A Joyful Jamboree. Joy the Fragrance by Dior can make us smell good. Almond Joy by Mars is one of my favorite foods. Tidings of comfort and joy come to us each year. On faces, in decorative places, taste it, smell it in the air. The joy to the World Christmas Carol comes from George Frederick Handel. Once in raised letters, I found joy on a candle. I didn't want to make it melt, so I didn't buy it. There's also Joy soap for washing dishes, and of course I've tried it. Some well-known blind folks put joy into their names too. Joy Bubbles, the friendly phone freak, is someone many of us knew. There's Early Work by Ed Walker from Washington, D.C. Radio, one of the Joy Boys, a comedy duo. Joyland was a park in Kansas for 55 years. Then Stephen King put it in North Carolina, full of joy and tears and fears. That little bundle of joy just can't come too soon. Old rockers sing a different joy to the world, that old Three Dog Night tune. Joy Behar on The View is a matriarch of that show. Ode to Joy from Beethoven's Ninth is a melody we know. The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan could fit into this rhyme. I'll never run out of joys, but I think I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Deborah Kendrick, you're next.
Thank you. So first, I just want to say that I was muted, so Alice couldn't hear me cracking up. That was adorable. I mean, Marilyn. Anyway, so thank you, Joe and Kathy and Nicole for making this happen, and Brian. And I especially want to say thank you because I had a period in my life where all I did was write poetry. And then my career led me to journalism, and there wasn't time for poetry anymore. And in thinking about this poetry circle, I went digging for poems that I hadn't seen in many, 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 many years that I wrote. And I'm going to read one of them. So thank you, because I think that process has, it's just opened a piece of life that I love so much to me again, and prompted me to want to get back into writing poetry. So my poem is called Because It's Our Nature. When we were very young, you held me in the spring. I braided wildflowers in my hair to make you love me even better than the infinite, the ultimate intensity of rapt adoration. You whistled on blades of grass, and I worshiped you, then despised you for your perfection. So confidently wonderful were you, lying lazy among the trees, talking about forever as if we had captured its secrets in a magic matchbox. Later, you wrote of rainy days and wistful longing, and my tears were only prayers, pleas that the memory would stay intact. When you said come, it was like another language, and I froze in my indecision. I grew up for you, after you, because of you, and I loved you more than any storybook princess has ever loved, being more than a simple line drawing, but having flesh and spirit that ran like frosting in hot sun till it blurred and blended with flesh and spirit that ran from you. Today, in another reality, the autumn rainy day slows my movements, stirs melancholy thoughts, and the postman brings me a package marked with an ancient date, a year I thought was eliminated from the calendar. You send old images of butterflies and goddesses of beauty, and I know that growing up cannot erase the innocence that believed in kindred spirits, fairy tales, and springtime miracles. Thanks.
Thank you, Deborah. That was
A
wonderful.
journalist and a poet. Wow.
Did we skip Deanna Noriega?
No, I'm here.
All right, wonderful, perfect.
Okay. This one I wrote yesterday. I had originally was going to read a poem that I'd had published already, and I decided that you deserved something new because I've read that one before other places. It's one of my favorites that I've written, but this one I wrote for you, and it's called Babies. I held a downy fluff in my 5-year-old hand, feeling the fragile beauty of a newly hatched chick. I gently lifted a black poodle pup from a pile of champagne-coated puppies being nursed by my mother's white dog Babette. I laughed when a tiny goat kid butted her head against her twin sisters within hours of their births. A paint quarter horse mare gently nosed her wobbly-legged foal, helping her find breakfast. At 2 a.m., I sat on the edge of a hospital bed, my heart filled with wonder and joy. I heard her soft cries. Just a second, my page won't turn. There. Drawing closer in the night, I knew my baby's voice. So that's my Wonder and Joy poem.
Great,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Amazing. Next is Elisa Bush.
Hi, I'm living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and thank you for this event. My poem is called Wonders. For me, the sky does not appear blue, gray, or any other color. I don't know the varieties of snowflakes that feel the same dropping onto my hand. Horizon, lover's eyes, and sunsets stretch my mind into heights I cannot reach. But how God finds a rhyme for me at just the right moment, matching perfectly what I want to say. The impossibility of life after death truth shining like the sun that touches my face. A toddler's, "Mommy, will you play with me?" after I just yelled at her, growing into an adult woman, learning Farsi and thriving despite my mistakes. Carols sung by a harmonizing husband and close friends. Laughter pushing me over a cliff to fly. These are all my wonders. So if I ask you not to feel sorry for me, you'll know why. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
And Joe Sorensen.
Oh, the audio now unmuted.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to be here. I'm going to read one of my poems that's published in my book, Exciting Life of Joe Sorensen. It's titled Joseph. Joseph, Joseph, you were sold as a slave. You went through the mill, but you climbed the hill and went to the top and prospered. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellen Sorensen, are you on?
Yep, I'm right here. Okay.
What do you
all
got
right.
for us?
Yeah. Okay, this one I just hang on. Okay. All right, this one I wrote about a couple of days ago, and this one is all about spring. So okay. Spring 2022. Another spring has arrived. The birds greet us early in the morning. The sun is here earlier each day. The wind is a nuisance. The flowers are blooming. It is time to plant. It is also time to be careful of fire. So, open the windows or the patio doors and let the fresh air in. And happy spring. And I wanted to let you, what inspired that is I like to write a poem at the beginning of each season. And then at this time we've got a lot of, the reason why I put fire in there is because we live in a dry climate here in New Mexico, and it's been extremely dry this year. So that's why I put that in there like that. But you know, it relates to the theme because the wonder and beauty of the great outdoors. So
And each new season. Thank you.
Wonderful.
yeah, I don't know why I just started doing that, and it's like, oh, I just been doing that I've got a ton of poems. That also we've also been published in anthologies and stuff like that. So we're getting around there as far as the poetry world.
Keep it up. We'll see you next year.
Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah, sure.
Next, we have Mary Hout.
Hello, I'm Mary Hop. I live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And the poem I'll be reading is called The Swing by Robert Louis Stevenson. I learned this poem in first grade. We had a teacher at the School for the Blind, a really wonderful lady. And every so often she would take us outside for what she called a date with the sun. And I can remember while some of us were swinging and everything, she taught us this poem. The Swing. How do you like to go up in a swing, up in the air so blue? Oh, I do think it the pleasantest thing ever a child can do. Up in the air and over the wall till I can see so wide, rivers and trees and cattle and all over the countryside. Till I look down on the garden green, down on the roof so brown. Up in the air I go flying again, up in the air and down.
I memorized that 60 some years ago. I hadn't thought about that till you brought that up. Thank you.
Isn't that a great poem? I just love it.
It is. It is. And memorizing poems is such a good thing.
It is.
Then
Good
then
for
you got them.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Constance Greismer. Is Constance on?
I'm on.
Take it away, Constance.
All right. This poem is called The Certified Form, and it talks about the interplay here in Southern California when a shower interrupts a time of Santa Ana wind. And this evoked the joy and wonder theme for me, this incident without those words actually being in it. Decertified form. I heard the sound of rain, but not the sound of wind. Unlike the sound of wind, the murmuring sound of rain rhythms the sound it makes. Now slow the sound, and then faster the sound as drops echo the sound against the wall. The sound trails off, pulling the sound away. Loud wind sound reappears.
Great.
What images? Wow.
Thanks, Constance.
Thank you.
Next, we have Christine Smith. Christine, if you're on, remember you can unmute with *6 on the phone or with Alt-A on the computer. Next is Brent Alia. And then Manny Iyer.
Hi, I'm Mani Iyer. thank you MVP for doing this every year. This is one of the poems out of my book, and I love to recite this poem. And I can recite this at any time of the day. As a matter of fact, if I'm unable to recite it, something is really wrong with me. Love in the air. On the sofa for two, under dim light, we snuggle. She reads the poem to me as she does every night. This November night, Hafiz declares the topic tonight is love. As a matter of fact, the topic tonight is love, and for tomorrow night as well. As a matter of fact, I know no better subject for us to discuss until we die. I imagine Hafiz seated in a Persian garden, his face caressed by a breeze carrying the scent of roses, with hints of soil pounded earlier by much-needed rain, and he's seeing in his beloved's eyes what I hear in my wife's voice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Sosi Shah on?
Okay. Yes, I'm here. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. Go ahead, Sosi.
Kind of soft, but good.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I used to be a preschool teacher, and when I lost my eyesight, I said I'm not going to lose my children. So what I did, I started writing poems, different poems. So I'll read one of them, and this is due to my beautiful friend Constance. She encouraged me. Okay. So now, when the ocean calls me home, come with me to the ocean floor, where there is many treasures and more, fish and crabs, corals and seals, resting and swimming with their body moving, leaving behind the soft warm sand, full of shells surfacing the golden land, pink and brown coral and beige and tan, as many as it can, wandering with an endless count. Kids playing at the shore, digging a hole to explore, the sand crabs and many more, with their buckets and shovel as therefore, making sand castles and more. It's a nice day under the sun. All the children are having joy and fun, wondering all about sea creatures and what they found. Thank you. Wow.
So many wonderful nature poems tonight.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. I love the ocean all the time. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next, we have Estelle Schauker. Is Estelle on?
Yes, this is Estelle Schukert. Thank you.
Hi, Estelle. Go ahead.
Years ago, I used to write poems when I was presented with a difficult decision to make. And I always felt that when I was writing, that a higher power was giving me the words that rhyme and expressed my feelings for me. So I've enjoyed that in the past. And but now I'm older and blinder and slower, but I still get out and walk. And when I walk, some of the things that I see and hear make me put together some little poems and melodies. So I'll apologize if it turns into a melody as well. And it'll be very short. And this is from a definite amateur poet. they said they wanted a title, and I couldn't think of anything except the word creatures. There are many more creatures in the world than just the family of man. There are many more creatures in the world than just the family of man. They are over the ground and under the ground and in the air and in the sea. Over the ground and under the ground and in the air and even in you and me. That's it. Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
I love that we have some lyrics as well as great poems.
It's catchy too. All right. Next we have Marlene Messo.
Thank you. This is from my forthcoming book, The Author's Edge, and the poem is called Branching Poetry by Marlene Messo. As roots extend from the tree, poetry pours out of me. It flows like the ocean once the bottle is open. Its rhyme ebbs and flows as the tide comes and goes, never knowing where words will land, like leaves from branches expand. It starts with a line intending to rhyme. It grows even more like trees on the forest floor. Trees provide shade, relief from our day. Poetry expands our mind as trees withstand time. And
thank you, Marlene.
The comparison. Wow. Makes you think.
Holly Westfeld, are you on?
Good evening.
Good evening, Holly. Go ahead, take it away.
If I could indulge just a moment, people speaking earlier about influences in early life. My 6th grade teacher inspired me to both read and write poetry. And we had lifelong friendship of 45 years and lost her last August, but her gift to me lives on. And can I sneak in a real short one that I memorized in 6th grade?
Of course.
Okay, I don't remember the author, but otherwise I have it memorized. It's called The Toothpick Bird. Has anyone heard of the Toothpick Bird and the crocodile in the land of the Nile? The crocodile opens his mouth up wide, and the bird picks a meal from the teeth inside where the shreds of the crocodile's dinner hide. And that I've heard makes both of them smile, the Toothpick Bird and the crocodile. So that was the poem I memorized. And
that sounds like Ogden Nash to me, but
it
who knows?
may well have been. I don't remember at this point. I'd have to look it up. But since I only just thought of it, I didn't take the time to look it up. This one I've dusted off from about 20 years ago, but I thought it kind of fit the theme of the evening. And it's faith focused. And if that is your cup of tea, I don't have a book out, but if you want to read more of my work, I have some of it on faithwriters.com. If you look in the email for the spelling of my name, you can do an author search. So anyway, this is Beauty Beyond Imagining. The hues of sunset, the splendor of dawn, murals of flowers and trees cloaked in green, the rainbow above, majestically drawn, wondrous creation, the artisan's scene. The choirs of birds that brighten our days, the song of the waves as they rise and fall, the instruments play while voices praise our Lord and our God, composer of all. Love for our parents and love for a friend, love for our husband or love for our wife, love for our children, but love without end is found in Jesus, who loved with his life. God's marvels on earth, art, music, and love pale when compared to his wonders above. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
All right. Well, before Kathy and I both read poems ourselves, I am going to go through the list one more time and read off those that we didn't hear from. And if they would like to read or if they have joined, please go ahead and unmute yourself and let me know. If Lisa Maria Martinez, Esley Mencia, Greg Bottig, Tina Schlipp, Gerald Stephenson, Jamie Taylor, Joy Stewart, Allison Pacadere, Kate Mobby, Christine Smith, or Brent Aaliyah are on, please go ahead and unmute yourself and you can share your poem. All right. Well, so
How
I found
about if we give a minute of anybody that we haven't called on
absolutely
wants to
and
read,
if anybody
just
who signed up,
unmute. And two people are going to talk at once, and that'll be okay. We'll sort it out. So if you haven't read and you want to read, unmute and speak up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, my name's Lori, and I'm sort of shy, so I didn't sign up, but I have two short poems I'd like to read. One is a poem by Christina Rosetti, and it doesn't seem to have a title, but it is, "There is no friend like a sister in calm or stormy weather, to cheer one on the tedious way, to fetch one if one goes astray, to lift one if one totters down, to strengthen while one stands." And the poem that I wrote is a sonnet, and it's for my sister. She told me all about the ugly duck, about new clothes a ruler never wore. She taught me many truths from children's books, how false praise kills the soul, grace makes it soar. We studied diverse subject years apart, but each discovered faith through Tolstoy's words. While finding Christ transformed my errant heart, her love for friends and sibling honors God. Today we talk of politics and war and goals of each aspiring relative. The love we share for novels underscores those ties which interweave each day we live. We join our hearts through frequent conversation to make our sisterhood a celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Wow. Anybody else want to come forward? I think you're up, Nicole.
All right. So this is a poem that I found pretty recently, but I really enjoyed it. It's called In Love as in Tourism by Xiao Yueshan. Cartography seems the strangest science today, as morning alters the fittings of the hour to form shapes wholly new. Wishing I did not know that, to leave, it is down and right past the neighbor's potted palm, across the street to meet the river, then ahead until the train station crowds into view. I search the infinity enclosed here for any time that the future could spare. Between the words lost and losing, entire worlds change hands. Where the latter informs negation, the other is duplicitous with potentialities, becoming something even desired. Suddenly one is alert to all of the colors returned to sight by merely looking, a lack of familiarity striking the common into curiosity, just as in the folk tales in which death plays detective, the wanderer is the one who evades the blade. It is so wonderful not to be found, but to be finding, as I discover in Tokyo, whose streets resemble labyrinth, pierced with rhododendron in spring and thundering ginkgo in autumn. And remember again when you laugh, and I do not ask why. I do not want to know either, to whom this room belonged to before us, or where that smell of fruit is coming from, or why a fog rises to challenge the knowledge of places once intimately kept. I am grateful that within you, only the unknown lives, that even as what passes between us is frail and limited and human, we still dream of things resembling the eternal.
Say the author's name again.
Oh, let me look. It's Xiao Yueshan.
I don't know that poet. Interesting.
How do you spell that, Nicole? How do you?
It's Chinese, so it's Xiao is the first name, and then Yue Shan, Yueshan.
Thank you.
Ready to close us out, Kathy?
Yeah, joy and wonder. Wow. I wish we'd recorded this. I wish that last time.
This is a recording, actually. This is a Zoom recording.
Is it going to be on the NBP website or?
I'll upload it to YouTube and send around the link to anybody who would like to listen again.
Oh, fabulous. I'd like to close this with a Mary Oliver poem called Summer Day. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper. I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who's gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Thanks for attending the Poetry Circle. Are you going to close this, Joe?
Yeah, I just want to mention, I'm not a poetry knowledgeable person, but what I enjoy about this is a few things. A lot of people who would consider themselves shy to have the courage to read their poem to a group of people that they might not know is really neat. And I thank you for that. Also, you're sharing your own work, and it takes a lot of courage to be able to share that. And I love the way that you all read your poems. I'm really moved by the passion and enthusiasm you have about what you've written and what it means to you. And I find that to be really cool and special. And you're all great Braille readers, so I thank you for that as well. And for me tonight, I laughed, I smiled, and it did make me think. And it did make me remember and make me think about the future. So I think this was a really cool experience for me as a poet person, but I definitely love that we're able to do this. And Kathy, thank you for being a catalyst. And we will send this link out so you can share, and we will definitely do this again. And I learned a new term, crowdsourcing for poetry, or crowdsource poetry. And Kathy, I like that idea. Maybe we work on something for that next year. We will be doing more poetry related things later this calendar year. So stay tuned for a poetry contest that NBP will revisit. We haven't done one in a couple of years, but we'll be doing that, I think, towards the end of the calendar year. But thank you for sharing with all of us your love of poetry and your excellent work.
Happy Poetry Month.
Happy Poetry.
Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
good people.
Be well.
Thanks a lot.
Bye, everyone.
Happy
Bye, everybody.
poetry.
Thank you.